Know that the love which blooms inside you is stronger than fear. For people who love find strength they didn't know they had. And know that love is indeed stronger than death. For people who love are like stones tossed into a pool. The circles of love radiate out and echo back long after the stone has come to rest. Remember your love as a source of strength. These words by the late Unitarian Universalist minister Mark DeWolf. He was the first openly gay minister in Canada, a graduate of Star King School for the Ministry, a avid student of UU history, and we'll be talking a little bit about that today. Unfortunately, he died in 1988 at the age of 35 from AIDS. Many Unitarian Universalists celebrate Easter with a flower communion like we are doing today. This ritual was created by a Unitarian minister in Czechoslovakia. His name was Norbert Čapek. When Čapek first created this ritual in his very large church in Prague, 1,000 members, it was to be celebrated the last Sunday of the school year so that all the children and adults could participate in it before they took their summer break, as Unitarians used to do. But Unitarian Universalists started doing the flower communion on Easter because Norbert Čapek was captured in 1940 by Nazi soldiers during World War II. He was very vocal and public about his Unitarian values of the worth and dignity of every person. And so he was considered, along with his ministry, a threat and dangerous to Nazi Germany. Norbert Čapek was killed in Dachau prison. But the legacy of his life's work and the basic values that he lived and died for are still alive now in our faith of Unitarian Universalism and in the flower communion ritual we celebrate today.
Good morning. I'd like to welcome our friends and members and any newcomers who are with us this morning as we gather together to celebrate Easter. But I'd also like to remind us that our Muslim friends, it's the middle of Ramadan, and for our Jewish friends, it's approaching the end of Passover. And this confluence of the three Abrahamic religions, it happened last year and it happened this year, but it probably won't happen again for 30 years. So this is a special time in the religious calendar. But on behalf of the entire congregation, I welcome each and every one of you to the Unitarian Universalist Church of the Shenandoah Valley. I am the Reverend Henry Tickner, Minister Emeritus of this congregation, and I will be the worship associate for this morning. We wish to acknowledge that we are standing on the traditional lands of the Shawnee and Manahoac tribes prior to the arrival of European settlers, who then took this land for their own. We gather together each Sunday morning as a community of seekers of what is most important in our lives, seekers of understanding in the face of uncertainty and loss, seekers of forgiveness for our shortcomings, seekers of gratitude for the unexpected gifts we receive from all around us. We gather in awe in the beauty of nature and the mysteries of the universe. But most importantly, we come together as seekers of a community of love and empowerment, celebrating our search for truth and meaning in our daily lives. Now I'd like to ask Lori Crockett to come forward to light our chalice. The words to our chalice lighting are found in the order of service. In the light of truth and the warmth of love, we gather to seek, to sustain, and to share. And now, also from your order of service, let us say together the covenant to this church. Love is the spirit of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament. To dwell together in peace and to seek the truth in freedom. To these ends, one with another.
And if you would, please turn in our gray hymnal to our ingathering song this morning, number 61, Lo, the Earth Awakes Again. Please rise in body or spirit as we sing together. Our time for all ages today is part 2 of what I was talking about last Sunday, Palm Sunday. It's a story about Jesus and his followers. In the days when Pontius Pilate, the Roman procurator, ruled all of Palestine with great cruelty, there lived a Jewish prophet and teacher named Jesus of Nazareth. Jesus moved from place to place, offering hope to people who desperately needed a reason to hope. He taught that every single person is loved by God and that there is a place for everyone in the kingdom of heaven. He reached out to all kinds of people, including those who were hated or ignored by others. Poor people, sick people, women without husbands, and even tax collectors. Large crowds gathered around to hear Jesus's message of hope, love, and a radical hospitality of welcome. This made Pontius Pilate and the Romans worry that he was a dangerous troublemaker. There came a time when Jesus decided to go to Jerusalem, the big city, to challenge those in power by saying that all people were loved and worthwhile. It was a dangerous thing to do, but his message needed to be heard. On Thursday night of the week, he entered Jerusalem. He shared a meal with his friends and then went with them to the Garden of Gethsemane to pray for strength and for courage. There he was arrested by Roman soldiers. The next day, Jesus was sentenced to die a cruel death by being nailed on a wooden cross, which was the Roman punishment for all people considered troublemakers. On the Friday that he was put to death, his friends scattered, frightened that the Roman soldiers would hurt them too. After Jesus' death, a follower named Joseph of Arimathea took his body and washed it and prepared it for burial. He placed Jesus' body in a tomb and rolled a heavy stone across the entrance. Jesus's followers were sad beyond words and terribly afraid. They felt hopeless. The messenger of hope was gone from them, crushed and killed by a cruel Roman Empire. What were they to do? On the third day after Jesus' death, 3 women went to the place where Jesus was buried, bringing spices to anoint his body. On the way, they talked about how difficult it would be to roll away the heavy stone in front of the tomb. But when they got there, they found that the stone was already rolled away and Jesus's body was gone. The women ran from that place, frightened. Not long after that, Jesus's friends and followers began to talk with one another about his teachings. They thought about his message of hope and his belief that each and every one of us is loved by God. They heard the reports from the women about the empty tomb. They wondered, sometimes when they talked about the things Jesus had said, it seemed like he was right there with him. So strong was his presence that many followers said that Jesus had returned as a Holy Spirit. They said, as many Christians do today, that Jesus had been born again or resurrected from the dead. They remembered the love Jesus taught, and gradually they began to feel hope again. Their sadness didn't go away completely, but it faded. As they remembered Jesus, they knew deep in their hearts that love is stronger than cruelty and hate. Love is indeed stronger than death. His spirit continues to live on today in all those who follow and love his teachings. I invite you now into a time of meditation with some meditation words. Feeling our beloved earth beneath our feet, the beauty that surrounds us every day, infinite beauty. Feeling gratitude for each breath that we take and for the support of this gathered community in person and beyond this room. We strive to be ever grateful for endings that are beginnings and for beginnings that are endings. For the seed, the flower, the fruit, for the egg, the opening, the center, for death, release, and new life. May we be forever grateful. For the center of the universe, which is everywhere at once, and for the center in a human heart, where love is a calm seed in the dark, for a love that survives despair, sorrow, anger, and even death. May we be forever grateful. You who have an eye for miracles this Easter morning, regard the bud now appearing on the branch, already a flower, soon the fruit, and in its unique beauty already lies its death and resurrection. Behold the spirit of life, rebirth, and renewal all around us in all its holy boldness. And now I invite Lori Crockett to come forward to introduce our Share the Plate organization recipient for this month.
Good morning, everyone. For the month of April, the Share the Plate is going to be shared with the Rainforest Alliance. In honor of Earth Month, Earth Day, and all of the wonders of the earth around us, the Rainforest Alliance has been around since 1987. Some of their goals are building a global alliance with all people who share a vision of a world where people and nature live in harmony. Today, the Rainforest Alliance works in more than 70 countries around the world to protect forests, to improve the livelihoods of farmers and forest communities, to promote human rights, to help mitigate and adapt to climate crisis. The Rainforest Alliance is working to create a more sustainable world by using social and market forces to improve the lives of farmers and forest communities. It is an alliance of farmers, forest communities, companies, and consumers who believe in a diverse, equitable, inclusive, and accessible environment. So thank you for your support for the Rainforest Alliance.
Except for payments marked as pledges, half of today's offering will go to support the Rainforest Alliance and their important work, which is aligned with our UU values. If you happen to be watching online, we hope you will consider making an offering this morning through our webpage, UUShenandoah.org. We will now receive an offering to sustain the self-supporting church. The music that you are about to hear, Ombra Muy Fu, commonly known as a largo, is a well-known aria from an opera by Handel. In this aria, the main character is singing about the admiration and love he has for the shade of the plane trees that grow in his garden. And the Italian text translates as follows: "Never was a shade of any plant dearer, or more lovely, or more sweet." Perhaps we can share the same admiration and gratitude for the beautiful flowers that are in the sanctuary, as well as the stunning display of red blood buds that embrace this church, the magnolias, the cherry trees, and all the other blooms that Mother Nature is providing right now. Reverend Julie always worries when I go off script. When I was in college, I enjoyed the writings of a Danish mathematician by the name of Piet Hein. He wrote these little 2- and 3-line poems that were clever and witty, and probably my most favorite was simply this: black earth becoming yellow crocus is undisputed hocus pocus. There are mysteries in our lives. There are the mysteries of Easter. There are mysteries all around us. So I thought this morning one might ask, how does one address a mystery? And this is by Gordon McKeeman, a one-time minister of this congregation. How does one address a mystery? Cautiously. Let us go cautiously then to the end of our certainty, to the boundary of all that we know, to the rim of understanding, to the perimeter of the unknown which surrounds us. Reverently, let us go with a sense of awe, feeling of approaching the powerful holy whose lightning slashes the sky, whose persistence splits concrete with tiny green sprouts, whose miracles are present in every place and moment. Hopefully, out of our need for wholeness in our own lives, the reconciliation of heart and mind, the conjunction of reason and passion, the intersection of timeless with time. Quietly, for no words will explain the inarticulate or summon the presence that is always here, even in our absence. Well, what shall I say? Anything. Any anger, any hope, any fear, any joy, any request, any word that comes from the depth of being addressed to being itself. Or perhaps nothing. No complaint, no request, no entreaty, no thanksgiving, no praise, no blame, no pretense of knowing or even of not knowing. Simply be in the intimate presence of mystery, unashamed, unadored, and unafraid. And in the end, simply say, Amen.
It is no accident that Easter arrives with the spring. The resurrection story takes place all around us in nature. From life to death to rebirth, the cycle of the seasons go from year to year, and so it is with all living things. As Unitarian Universalists, we affirm the unfailing renewal of life. This affirmation is expressed beautifully in a reading by David Eaton. He was a Methodist minister before he became a Unitarian Universalist minister, and he served the All Souls Church in Washington, D.C. for 20 years. A common destiny, he wrote, all living substance, all substance of energy, being, and purpose are united and share the same destiny. All people, those we love and those we know not of, are united, sharing the same destiny. Birth to death, we share this unity with the sun, the earth, our sisters and brothers, strangers, flowers of the field, snowflakes, volcanoes, and even moonbeams. Birth to life, to death, unknown to known to unknown. This is our common destiny. He concludes by saying, may we have the faith to accept this mystery and to build upon its everlasting truth. This everlasting truth of ongoingness, of undying love even. That is what Jesus became aware of when he spoke to his disciples prior to his crucifixion. According to Kenneth Long, a Chinese Buddhist author of the Zen teachings of Jesus. Long was referring to a passage in the Gospel of John when Jesus told his disciples, "The hour is coming. Indeed, it has come, when you will be scattered and will leave me alone. Yet I'm not alone, for the Father is with me." And then Jesus said, "Be of good cheer. I have overcome the world." Long refers to this line attributed to Jesus, "I have overcome the world," as a koan of Jesus about death, and suggests that it is perhaps the most important mystery saying in Jesus's teachings. Just at the point at which Jesus knew his life was threatened and his death was imminent, he says to his disciples that he's overcome the world, and he predicts the radical transformation that would take place within the behavior of his disciples following his death. While we know that the physical resurrection of Jesus's body is still a matter of great debate, most do agree that the behavior of Jesus's disciples not long after his death showed a dramatic change. His disciples went on to endure all kinds of hardships, persecutions, and they met it with an amazing equanimity. Apparently, this peace with which Jesus encountered his own death was made available to his disciples as they went on to share his teachings. Long suggests that this willingness to be fully human in the face of death is the true miracle in Jesus's koan of overcoming the world. Jesus was able to defeat death simply by accepting it. The surrendering of all anxiety into this acceptance meant his victory over the world and all its tribulations, and even death itself. Norbert Chopek, of whom I spoke earlier, had a similar experience prior to his being put to death in Dachau prison as the result of a medical experiment. Chopek, who had created the flower communion that we observe today, wrote this prayer during his last days. He wrote, "It is worthwhile to live and fight courageously for our sacred ideals. Oh, blow ye evil winds into my body's fire, my soul you'll never unravel. Even though disappointed 1,000 times, or fallen in the fight and everything would seem worthless, I have still lived amidst eternity. Be grateful, my soul, my life was worth living." He who was pressed from all sides but remains victorious in spirit is welcome into a choir of heroes. He who overcomes the fetters giving to the mind is entering a golden age of the victorious. This Easter morning, Unitarian Universalists who participate in a flower communion as we do today are striving to live by those same standards and ideals in our individual lives and in our communities, in the lives that we are given to lead. Each and every one of us has been called to serve the powers of love in order to transform our current world, to create justice for all people everywhere who are suffering from human oppression and injustice, which is what many Unitarian Universalists call evil. The significance of our flower communion is that just as no two flowers are alike, no two people are alike, yet we each have this contribution to make. Together, the different flowers form a beautiful bouquet, a common bouquet that would not be the same without the unique addition of each and every one of us. The flower communion celebrates the diverse and unique preciousness of this gathered community and symbolizes our first principle affirming the worth and dignity of every single person. It's now time to share in the flower communion. I ask that when you come forward through the outer aisles, returning to your seats through the center aisle, for those who may need to stay seated, I ask that one of your neighbors offer to select a flower for you. As you come to the communion table, I ask that you do so quietly, reverently, with a sense of how important it is for each of us to address our world and one another with gentleness. I ask that you select a flower different from the one that you brought, one that particularly appeals to you. And as you take your chosen flower, please remember to handle it carefully. It's a gift that someone else has brought here today. It represents our unique humanity, deserving of our kindest touch. When we get to the last portion of those coming forward, I'm actually going to ask those who've already gotten your flowers to turn in our hymnal to sing together number 352, Find a Stillness, a song that has a Transylvanian melody that many of us are familiar with. We'll sing that while remaining seated and while the last folks are coming forward to select their flowers. Let us begin the flower communion. Find a stillness, a stillness, find a stillness, remain. Silence, oh, the silence, the silence, remain. The Spirit, the Spirit. And now I hope that you all have a flower, or at least can gaze upon a flower for our closing words of the message today. Some words that are part of my favorite meditation by the Vietnamese Zen Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh, who coined the terms interbeing and also engaged Buddhism. If you take a look at your flower, when you look into the heart of the flower that you're holding, you can see clouds, sunshine, time, rain, earth, and everything in the cosmos. Just like the flower, we are each a unique part of this amazing web of life. We are all part of a perpetual cycle from birth to death to rebirth. May knowing this everlasting truth bring us peace and lead us to acts of kindness, with a peace in our hearts that we share with everyone that we meet. Thank you for participating in today's Easter Flower Communion. And now it's time for a closing song. We're going to shift gears a little bit. I hope we have a few Spanish speakers in the room. We'll be singing the first verse, and Pam is going to help us. She's a pro at this. We'll sing the first verse in Spanish, and then the next two verses, 2 and 3, in English. Number 305, De Colores. Yes. Please rise in body or spirit, waving flowers if you like. De colores se visten los campos en la primavera. De colores son las pajaritos que vienen de fuera. De colores es el arcoíris que vemos lucir, y por eso los grandes amores de muchos colores me gustan a mí, y por eso los grandes amores de muchos colores me gustan a mí. Verse 2. All the colors, yes, the colors of people parading on by with their banners. All the colors, yes, the colors of pennants and streamers and plumes and bandanas. All the colors, yes, the colors of people now taking their place in the sun. All the colors of battles, the whole world around just for everyone under the sun. All the colors of battle, the whole world around and for everyone under the sun. Verse 3. All the colors, yes, the black and the white and the red and the brown and the yellow. All the colors of people who smile and shake hands to say hello. All the colors, yes, the colors of people who know that their freedom is won. All the colors about for the whole world around and for everyone under the sun. All the colors about for the whole world around and for everyone under the sun. Thank you, very nice. You may be seated.
And now, as Lori comes forward to extinguish our chalice, let us say together here and from our homes the words for extinguishing the chalice, which can be found in your order of worship. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth. the warmth of our community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we meet again.